Hi, I'm Danielle Winston. Thank you for coming to the show today. Prudence Wright Holmes, who is better known to you all as Tina, will be performing her solo show that Prudence wrote and I directed. It's a story of Typhoid Mary, also known as Mary Mallon, who was a cook and a carrier of typhoid fever, who infected and killed countless people with the disease. So please shut off your audio and mute your audio and shut off your screen, and please refrain from chatting. And there will be a short Q&A afterwards if you'd like to stick around. And that's it. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you so much.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Bailey. Thanks for taking the ferry all the way out here from Manhattan to this godforsaken place. No one comes to North Brother Island by choice. I'm so grateful you want to help me write my story. You're my last chance. I'm hoping and praying that if we can get the truth out and some important people out on my side, I can get out of this hellhole and have a life again. Well, I'll do everything I can to help you, Mary. It's not fair what they done to you. Oh, God bless you for saying that, Mr. Bailey. I need someone on my side. Let me lay it out for you. They call me Typhoid Mary, but that's just a terrible nickname pinned on me by William Randolph Hearst in his newspaper. That man put a hex on me. My real name is Mary Mallon. They say I'm a monster. I'm a carrier of typhoid fever, and that I've infected hundreds of people and over 50 of them have died. They're full of malarkey. No one knows the truth. I'm just trying to make me way in the world. I'm a cook. They say I'm a pretty good one. I came here to the States in 1883 when I was but 14 from County Tyrone in Ireland. Really? My mother was from County Cork. Oh, God love you. I knew there was something I liked about you. Well, I had to get out of Ireland. Me whole family died off over there. First was me mam. She died of a fever giving birth to me. Everybody there got it from the bad water. Except me. I've always been as healthy as a horse. Next was me pa, me two brothers, me sister, her twins. They died in me arms. Oh, it broke my heart. Me granny was the last to go, but not before she gave me her recipe for brown bread. Do you think you might like to put it in your book, Mr. Bailey? Sure, give it to me. Well, you take a cup of flour, a half a cup of whole wheat flour, a teaspoon of yeast, a teaspoon of sugar, and 3 teaspoons of caramel. But here's Granny's secret. Instead of caramel, she used coffee. Oh, delicious. Before she left this world, she called me to her bedside. Child, you're but 14, too young to make your way in the world. I worry about you. I have a sister, Kate, in Castle Gardens, New York City. Promise me you'll get in touch with her. She pressed the address into my hands along with some coins. Once she was gone, I bought a ticket steerage class to New York City. Oh, my Lord, it was a rough journey in the bowels of that ship, let me tell you. There were 6 of us to a room. The food was slop, what there was of it. 2 friends from Ireland, Maureen and Patsy, came along with me. Well, they wanted a better life too. We passed our days singing songs of our new life in America. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? When I told them about Castle Garden, Maureen said, it would be a beautiful castle like Queen Victoria had down in England. And Patsy said, oh, there'll be dozens of servants running around keeping things up. I couldn't wait. Unfortunately, both girls died before we got to New York City. The first mate said a few prayers, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Oh, my Lord, that was hard to watch. When we finally got to New York City, my great aunt's husband was waiting for me. He took me to their flat in Castle Gardens. Only Granny got it wrong. It was called Carroll Gardens, and far from being like Queen Victoria's castle, it was a slum with a bunch of broken down row houses and garbage all over the street. Still, it was better than County Tyrone, and I was glad to have a home again. Aunt Kate met me at the door. Oh, welcome to New York, child. Oh, God love you. You look just like my sister. She ushered me into the house where I had my own room. Aunt Kate and her husband spoiled me. We had bangers and mash every Friday, and on Sunday, corned beef and cabbage. I gained 10 pounds that first year. But when I turned 15, Aunt Kate came to my room. Mary, me girl, you're old enough to earn your keep now. Go to the Acme Employment Agency and tell them you're 18 and try to get a job as a housemaid. I did, and I was placed with a fine family. One night, the upstairs maid invited me to go to the National Pub with her for a pint. As I was seated at the bar, a man sidled up and asked if he could buy me a drink. I must admit, he was rather fine looking. As he handed me my drink, he said, there you go, pretty lady. Oh, thank you. I had tried to look my best that night. I was wearing my new pink shirtwaist and my hair was swept up like a Gibson girl. My name is Alfred Brehoff. You're the prettiest girl I've ever seen. Oh, thank you. Then he told us he'd been born in Germany, but he'd come to the States when he was but a wee lad. Oh, such a gentleman. Not like those rough men back in County Tyrone. Dark with the dark eyes. At the end of the night, he offered to walk us home. On the way there, he told us he had a good job delivering coal. And when we got to the door, he tipped his hat. As I walked away, he called to me, Miss Mary, would you mind if I called on you again? You know, I said yes. So Alfred and I began keeping company together. He had a flat on East 33rd Street, and we began spending a lot of time there, doing what adults do, if you know what I mean. I kept hoping he'd make an honest woman of me. I was coming up in the world too. I got a new job with a wealthy family as a scullery maid. They had a mansion on Park Avenue. One day, the cook didn't come in and the missus asked me to take over. That night, they had a big slab of beef, and I did it up with russet tatties and Yorkshire pudding. Everybody raved about it. The next day, the missus called me into the parlor. Mary, cook got another job. She's not coming back. Would you like to take her place? we could pay you $35 a month. Oh, I was only making 20 as a scullery maid, so I said yes. I went shopping for myself and Aunt Kate. I bought us fine hats in an expensive hat shop with silk flowers on them. We wore them to church every Sunday. Unfortunately, right after that, Aunt Kate took sick. She had a high fever and she was coughing like a fiend. The doctor came, but he didn't know what was wrong. One morning I heard a scream from the loo. I opened the door and Aunt Kate was lying dead on the floor. My one living relative was now gone. Oh, that must have been terrible for you, Mary. Oh, it was. Aunt Kate was very dear to me, Mr. Bailey. Call me Jim. Oh, all right, Jim. Well, one day when we'd been together a long time, right after Aunt Kate died, Alfred took me in his arms and kissed me. Mary, I want to be with you, Liebchen. Move in with me. Oh, Alfred, I was hoping you'd ask me to marry you. You've made me a happy woman. Well, let's not rush into things. But I love you. I'm not ready. I fought back tears and reluctantly agreed. No, I know it wasn't what a respectable woman would do. Out of wedlock, yeah. But I loved him, and I kept hoping he'd change his mind. I mean, who was going to judge me? All my kith and kin were dead. Well, things went along fine for several months, maybe even a year. Then one day, Alfred stumbled up the stairs and collapsed on the bed. They fired me from my job. Then he passed out. I could tell he was 3 sheets to the wind, so I made up a big pot of coffee trying to sober him up. But the same thing happened again and again. And no matter how much I pleaded with him, he wouldn't stop. So I was a drunk. Why didn't you leave him? No, I loved my Alfred. And besides, I had troubles of my own. My employers sold their house on Park Avenue and moved out of New York City. Now we were both out of a job. I pleaded with Alfred to look for work, but he wouldn't listen. Look at these bills, Alfred. He took my hand and kissed it. Then he poured himself another drink. Finally, I'd had enough. I went to the employment agency and I told them to get me a job out of town. Hey, you're a spunky lady. I couldn't put up with it no matter how much I loved him. They matched me with a family named Schmidt who lived in Saddle River, New Jersey. I went for the interview and I met them and their 2-year-old son, Friedrich. Mrs. Schmidt showed me around. We recently moved here from Berlin. We miss our German food. Do you think you could learn to make Wiener Schnitzel? Oh, I already know how. My husband is German. Your husband? All right. It was a lie. But after all those years together, it was almost like we were husband and wife. Well, that clinched things, and I got the job. Soon I was whipping up everything from blood pudding to bratwurst. Little Friedrich would often come tottering into the kitchen and say, Heidi. That was his name for the Heidelbeer cookies I used to make that were his favorite. He couldn't say my name, so he used to call me Mimi, Mimi. One day I came into the kitchen and Mrs. Schmidt looked worried. Mary, Friedrich is not well. The doctor thinks it could be typhoid fever, but we can't believe that. It's a disease of the poor. This place is spotless thanks to you. I put him in ice baths, trying to bring the fever down. It didn't work. The poor little thing screamed in pain. So I sat up all night singing to him. Tora, Lora, Lora, Tora, Lora, Lai, Tora, Lora, Lora. It's an Irish lullaby. I finally fell asleep around dawn. When I woke up, Friedrich was lying still in his bed. The dear little soul had gone. I ran for the missus. She took one look and fainted in my arms. The next day she came to my room. Mary, have you ever had typhoid fever? No, never. Well, I'm trying to figure out how Friedrich could have gotten it. Well, maybe a playmate or a nursemaid or a church. But before she could figure it out, she came down with that same disease and it took its inevitable course. Soon it was just me and Mr. Schmidt. He'd glare at me at the dinner table when I served him. One night he threw down his fork. This is all your fault, you filthy Irish scum. Get out. Mr. Schmidt, I understand how you feel, but I'm not to blame. Just get out right now. Well, did you go for a test then? No, I thought it was just his grief talking. Besides, I felt fine. I went back to New York City and I found Alfred lying face down on the kitchen floor. He'd soiled himself. I cleaned him up and dragged him back into bed. And then I went to the employment agency and told them to get me another job out of town. It was the summer in 1905, and a lot of folks were looking for cooks for their vacation homes. I was placed with a lovely family who had a house on the water in Maine. Oh, we'd cook up lobster on the rocks in seaweed. It was delicious. There was a stable boy named Will who was sweet on me. He was 10 years younger than me, but when he'd sing to me, he'd touch me heart. We used to row around in the bay in a boat and he'd sing, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer do. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. Then he'd kiss me on the lips and I'd kiss him back so hard I almost knocked a boat over. I dreamed of him walking me down the aisle and I would be leaving Alfred. One day I cooked up some oysters in cornmeal for lunch. Everyone said they were delicious. Afterwards, Will and I went swimming. Suddenly he got a stomach cramp. He said he thought it was the oysters, but I told him no, I ate them too and I felt fine. He lived in town, so he went home that day early, but he didn't come back the next day or the next. And the missus said he wasn't coming back. I was worried, so I sent him a note. No answer. Oh, what a fool I was. Perhaps he never cared for me. I don't know. Then one day, the laundress took me aside and told me she had some terrible news. Will had died. I was shocked. He was a young man. Another death, Mary? Don't look at me like that. The doctor said it was from the oysters, and I had no reason to doubt them, but I just wondered why didn't I get sick if I ate them? That's a good question. Well, I guess I have a strong constitution. Then the mister got sick, two of the children, the upstairs maid and the gardener. I told myself it was just bad luck that they got it, but I wondered why. Well, did you take precautions? Wash your hands, wear a mask? No, but I boiled the water. Eventually the whole family was sick and they couldn't eat, so they sent me home. I felt bad about all the deaths, but I told myself it was their time. Well, what about little Friedrich? He was only 2 years old. I know. He died way before his time. I sometimes had nightmares about him. I'd hear his song coming to me in my dreams. Tora, Laura, Laura, Tora, Laura, Laura, and I'd wake up covered with sweat. I went to the doctor and got some pills to help me sleep. I told myself it was probably the will of God. You know, he works in mysterious ways, but I had to get on with my life, right? Well, in 1906, I got a job with a wealthy family named Warren, who were renting a house in Oyster Bay, Long Island. They were paying me $40 a month. Their 12-year-old daughter, Rosemary, was very fond of my peach ice cream. She used to pick peaches from the orchard and help me peel and chop them for the ice cream. Say, could you give me that recipe? Oh, well, I don't know. It's my favorite recipe, and it is a bit of a secret. Come on, Mary, it'll help sell books. Well, all right then. You take 6 eggs beaten, 4 cups of heavy cream, 2 cups of half and half, 3.5 cups of sugar, 10 peaches peeled and chopped, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Oh, it was delicious. We had it almost every night. Things were going along brilliantly that summer until one day I saw the gardener upchucking behind a bush. Did you suspect typhoid? No, it could have been anything. We ate a lot of seafood that summer. But then the mister and Rosemary came down with the same sickness. The doctor said it was food poisoning from eating soft-shell crabs. I said a few prayers to St. Michael, and then I went back to New York City. Alfred was still spending all his days in the National Pub. So I got another job with a fine family named Bowen, who had a mansion on Fifth Avenue. Mrs. Bowen was in love with anything French. She gave me French cooking lessons, and soon I was whipping up the likes of Chateaubriand and Coco Vin. Their little daughter Elizabeth got French lessons, French etiquette lessons. Oh, yes, she even wore French frocks. I didn't have any idea there was trouble brewing in Oyster Bay. As far as I knew, it was food poisoning. Then, a few weeks after I left, 12-year-old Rosemary Warren expired of typhoid fever. Her father claimed the place was a death trap, and he threatened to sue the landlord if he didn't prove it wasn't the house that was making them sick. So the landlord hired a sanitary engineer from the Department of Health named Dr. George Soper. He tested the water and he didn't find anything. So then he started chasing every person that had been in the house that summer, hunting them down. He presented his findings to the landlord. Sir, there is one person on your staff who has a history of typhoid fever outbreaks wherever she has worked. Her name is Mary Mallon. Soon enough, he showed up at the Bowens mansion. I heard a man demanding to see me. I'm from the health department. I want to see Mary Mallon. I looked out the window and I saw a man in spectacles with a handlebar mustache. I didn't want any trouble, so I told the butler to get rid of him. So then he went and tracked down Alfred. I want to talk to you about Mary Mallon. I believe that she is a carrier of typhoid fever. Hogwash, my Mary's healthy. Well, people can carry the disease without ever having it themselves. Yeah, well, if that's true, why didn't I ever get it? We don't know that. This flat is filthy. Does your wife ever clean it? They're not married. Living in sin. Look, my Mary doesn't have time. She's busy working. Well, does she ever wash her hands after she uses the toilet? That is none of your business. Good day, doctor. It was true. I was busy working. I had no wonder the place was a mess. I hadn't been there in a donkey's age. I just stopped by to pick up the mail. Whatever Alfred told him set off 1,000 alarm bells ringing in Dr. Soper. Then, at the end of February 1907, 9-year-old Elizabeth Bowen died of typhoid fever. The whole house was draped in black. That girl was the apple of their eye. Well, surely you went for a test then. I was going to. I really was when Alfred grabbed my arm. Liebchen, those tests are unreliable. Think, Mary, think. If it's positive, it won't prove anything, but it will look bad. Yes, but Alfred, it's the right thing to do. The Bowens would fire you, and we need the money. So you just ignored it? You gambled with people's lives? You let things go? No, I told him, Alfred, I have lives to think of. He took me in his arms and kissed me. Liebchen, if there was anything wrong with you, don't you think I would have gotten sick? After all, we are as close as two people can be. It could have been anybody. I didn't know what to do. He was right. It could have been anyone. New York was a filthy place. I didn't want to hurt anyone. So I was torn. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't do anything. Then one day in March 1907, I was in the kitchen fixing duck for dinner, poking it with a knife to drain the fat, when the doorbell rang and I heard a man demanding to see me. He burst into the kitchen. Miss Mallon, I'm Dr. George Soper from the Department of Health. I believe you are infecting your employers and the staff with typhoid fever. No, that's impossible. I never had that disease. There is a trail of death wherever you go. Come with me. No, I didn't do anything wrong. Then you won't mind undergoing testing. He grabbed my arm. I had the knife in my hand. I panicked. I lunged at him. Get out of here or I'll kill you. He ran out the door. But the next day, he came back with a policeman. They ran into the kitchen shouting, "You're under arrest, Mary Mallon." I ran up the stairs and hid in the closet, but they came up after me. So I ran down the back stairs and into the neighbor's yard and hid in her outhouse. I was in there a couple of hours when I heard pounding on the door. "Mary Mallon, come out of here right now or we'll take you by force." I opened the door a crack and they grabbed me and they handcuffed me. They threw me in a police wagon. Somebody even sat on me so I wouldn't escape. Soon enough, I found myself in the Willard TB hospital right here on this hellhole North Brother Island. They even tied me to the bedpost. After a few hours, a nurse came in with a bedpan. "We need samples." She stuck it under me. A few days later, I was taken into a room with a bunch of doctors, including Dr. Soper. "Miss Mallon, you have tested positive for typhoid fever. In fact, you are a cesspool of that disease. It lives in your gallbladder. Sign this form and we will surgically remove it." "No, I'm healthy. That's a dangerous operation. I could die." "Well, that is a risk you will have to take." "No, I'm not going to let you cut me. No." "Then you leave us no choice. You will remain in quarantine. Take her away." "That was your only choice, Mary?" "Oh, you don't know the half of it, Jim. They held me prisoner in a shack on a remote part of the island. They gave me drugs. I was peeing buckets of blood. I could hardly walk. I had stomach cramps. I lost 15 pounds. I cried so much my eyelid got stuck open and it wouldn't shut. And after all that, they still said I tested positive for typhoid. Oh my God, they had no right to do that to me, to you. I wrote Alfred every day begging him to help me, but he hardly ever answered. And when he did, the responses were pithy. "I'm getting by, miss ya, Alfred." I begged him to help me find a lawyer. But then one day, a letter I wrote to him was returned by the post office. "That's why you're so important, Jim. I need you to help me get justice." "Well, I'll do my best." Years ago, someone else tried to help me get justice. One day, I got a letter from a young lawyer named Francis O'Neill. He offered to help me, to defend me for free. I figured he was probably an ambulance chaser, but I was desperate. Soon enough, he showed up on North Brother Island. He told me that the health department had arrested me without a warrant, which was illegal. He told me he thought he could get me set free, but we'd have to go to court. And he also told me to send samples of my bodily fluids to a private lab. I did. They came back negative. Now we had proof. He also told me there was an American man who was a carrier of typhoid who owned a dairy in New Jersey, but they didn't do anything to him other than tell him not to work around the milk. I think it's because I'm a woman and I'm Irish. They locked me up and threw away the key. Make sure you put that in the book, Jim. You bet I will. They railroaded you. You needed somebody on your side. Like you, Jim. Well, finally, the day of the trial arrived, and they took me off the island under armed guard. I tried to look me best, but my blouse had yellowed in 3 years, and my hair had grown so long it was hard to pin it up neatly. As we approached the courthouse in Manhattan, I caught sight of a newspaper headline as I pushed through the jeering crowd. There was my picture on the front page with a headline, "Filthy Irish germ woman kills dozens." As I walked into the courtroom, I saw Alfred sitting in the corner. Then the trial began, and Dr. Soper took the stand. My lawyer presented him with my negative test results. He dismissed them. "Yes, but the bacteria only lives a short time, so these tests have no validity. Our tests are done immediately, on site, and they are positive 65% of the time." Then he started spouting a lot of big words like bacilli and agglutins and serum that don't mean anything to anybody but a doctor. Finally, it was time for lunch, and Alfred sidled up to me and handed me a sandwich. He took my hand. I pulled away. Why haven't I heard from you? Your letters were returned. Where are you living now? The Lower East Side. I couldn't make the rent, so I took a room there. Well, what's it like? Small, a widow and her son. She got me to do the Oppenheimer cure. I haven't had a drink in 3 months. Well, that's good, Alfred, but why haven't I heard from you? I've been busy. Stop dodging the question, Alfred. What's going on? Well, the truth is, I'm married. Married? A man has needs, and she got me to stop to drink, and her son needed a father. Oh, you bastard, Crowdhead! You wouldn't marry me all these years, and now I'm sorry. You are my last chance, Alfred. I burst into tears and ran back into the courtroom. Minutes later, I was called to the stand. I couldn't stop crying. My cheeks were beet red. You have no right to hold me prisoner. I didn't do anything wrong. I've never had typhoid fever. I think it's because I'm a woman and I'm Irish. I've got rights, I've got rights. Of course, the crowd booed me, and they dragged me off the witness stand and hauled me back to North Brother Island. Of course, the verdict went against us. We appealed all the way to the Supreme Court, but they turned us down. But Mary, they proved you're a danger to others. No, my tests were negative. Yeah, and Dr. Soper explained why. Whose side are you on? It's not about sides, Mary. It's about people's lives. Well, what about my life? You're not the only one involved here. I just couldn't seem to win no matter what I did. Then a miracle happened. In 1910, a new health commissioner was appointed, and he ruled I could have my freedom if I agreed not to work around food. By then, I'd been in quarantine almost 3 years. they got me a job in a in a laundry, and I had to report to the health department every 3 months. Well, wasn't that the luck of the Irish? Yeah, about goddamn time. The day of my freedom, I took the ferry to Manhattan, but then I had nowhere to go. Finally, I found a flop house in Harlem, 4 girls on a mattress on the floor, and I had to crawl over 3 bodies to get to the piss pot. Still, it was better than being in quarantine, wasn't it? Yeah, out of the frying pan into the fire. I trudged down to Olga's laundromat every day. Olga was an old Russian woman who was a stickler for having things done her way. I'd fold a sheet, she'd fold it again, squawking at me in Russian all the while. At $20 a month, it was hard not to answer her back. But I trudged along, taking Olga's guff. One day as I was leaving work, who should I run into but Alfred? Turns out it was no accident. He took my hand. Mary, things didn't work out with my wife. I have a good job selling toys on a push cart. Would you give me another chance? Oh, Alfred, I don't know. I haven't had a drink in a year. I have a nice place in Brooklyn. You could move in with me. I never could resist Alfred and his big brown eyes. Things went well for several months, maybe even a year. He had a nice place in Coney Island, and we used to walk on the beach holding hands, and sometimes he'd even kiss me. I was hoping he'd finally make me an honest woman. He got a new job in a stable. Oh, he loved working around the horses. Everything was hunky-dory until one day, one of the horses kicked him in the head and he started getting these awful headaches and he couldn't work. I used to find him lying in bed with a pillow over his head, moaning. I finally went to the doctor and got him some pills that seemed to help. By this time, I was doing a little cooking on the side. Mary, why would you cook when you'd been told not to? Oh, don't worry, I washed my hands. It was just cookies. Nobody got sick. They said they never tasted anything so delicious. But weren't you worried about putting other people's lives in danger? No, you're not listening. It's not true what they said. Well, that's not what they said in court. You broke the rules. But the rules weren't fair. I'm telling you, nobody got sick. I guess that proves I wasn't a cesspool of disease like they said. Well, what about those positive test results? They lied! My tests were negative! Don't you dare accuse me of something so terrible! Calm down, Mary, calm down. I'm just trying to understand what you're telling me. I couldn't seem to get a break no matter what I did. One day, Olga started squawking about me, about using too much soap in the laundry, and I had it up to here. I told her, "Go to hell, you old bat!" And she fired me. Well, what'd you do then? I needed a job fast. The Tip Top Bakery was down the street, and they had a sign, "Help Wanted," in the window. I went in there and I told them my name was Mary Brown, and they hired me to make pastries. How could you do that? They were paying me $40 a month. You had no idea what that money meant with Alfred not working and him needing more and more pills for his headaches. Finally, The doctor started giving him shots of opium. One night I came in and I found him screaming in pain, and I ran for the doctor. He gave him 2 shots of opium, and Alfred fell into a deep sleep, and I couldn't rouse him. I ran for the doctor again. But when we got back, my darling, beloved Alfred had left this world. I think that quack doctor killed him by giving him too much opium, but I couldn't prove it. I used to sob in my pillow all night long. Even though we'd had our problems, we'd been together most of my adult life. You should have left him a long time ago, Mary. Oh, yeah, easy for you to say, but I loved me, Alfred. It was almost like we were husband and wife. We'd been together so long. Well, I went back to the Tip Top Bakery and they told me a man from the health department had been looking for me. I knew it was Dr. Soer. He was always trying to hunt me down. Even though I needed the money, I never went back. How could I? What if they found out about the bakery? I hadn't reported to the health department in 6 months. It was just one calamity after another. I was 46 years old and I was completely broke. And Alfred's medicines had used up all my money. From there, I took various different jobs under assumed names. You broke the law? No, I told myself it was fine because I was innocent. And besides, I thought my luck had finally changed because nobody got sick. I ended up in the Sloan Maternity Hospital. What did you say? I got a good job in the Sloan Maternity Hospital. I don't believe this. That was playing with fire. Did anybody come down with typhoid? I don't know. You sure? Well, some. How many died? I heard 25. Oh, sweet Jesus. Soon enough, Dr. Soer was on my trail again. He tracked me down one night when I was delivering food to a friend. He dragged me back out here, and I've been here ever since. That was 10 years ago. Well, thank God he did. Somebody had to stop you. Mary, how could you cook again? And at a maternity hospital of all places. I have a talent for killing people. No, I wash my hands. You got blood on those hands and you know it. I was careful. Well, not careful enough because 25 mothers and babies died just like little Friedrich. No, don't mention little Friedrich. I still have bad dreams about it. He's calling for a cookie. I see him from behind. But when he turns around, a skeleton with bits of red flesh hanging off his bones. And I try to get away, but I can't move. I'm sorry, little Friedrich. I didn't mean to hurt you or any of the others. Why did I take the risk? Why didn't I listen to the doctors? Why did I cook again? That's what I'd like to know. No, please, Jim, don't put that part in the book. You bet I'll put it in the book. You got to answer for what you've done. No, you can't. I won't let you. You can't stop me. I'll get a lawyer. Good luck with that. It's a matter of public record. I'll sue you. You don't have the bucks for a lawyer. I'll call Mr. O'Neill. He'll do it for free. I got rights, I have. You got no rights. You're a murderess and you know it. Little Friedrich, Mrs. Schmidt, Will, Rosemary Warren, Elizabeth Bowen, and all those mothers and babies in the Sloan Maternity Hospital, and probably your Aunt Kate too. No, not Aunt Kate. No. Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what have I done? Do whatever the hell you want. It doesn't matter anymore. Write your book. I've nothing to lose. You can tell your readers I really am a cesspool of disease. I'm the germ woman, the one and only Typhoid Mary.